Hi there. My name is Santiago, and today's cover readings are found in 1 Peter 5, the end, and 2 Peter 1 through the beginning of 3. Now, if you've been following along with the reading plan, you've probably noticed, like I have, that, well, frankly, there isn't much left. We started this back in January, and I remember it might have seemed pretty impossible to get through all of this. Yet now, finish line's in sight. So I was thinking about this, and I started to imagine the moment when I finished. That moment when I read the last page of the book, and I closed it, and I said, wow. And it was kind of like almost like a now what kind of moment. I did it. Do I start again? What do we do next? And I think a lot of times it can get easy to get caught up in tasks. Like, we have our list of things to do, things that we need to get done, so we do them, and then we move on to the next. And in 2 Peter, Peter is talking to those who have obtained an equal standing in their faith with him. So these people are believers. They're people that get it. They've been saved. They've been going to church. They've been baptized. They're serving in the children's ministry. They're working at coffee hour. They're going out in the streets and they're evangelizing. To these people, he says, make every effort to add to your faith goodness, and to goodness knowledge, and to knowledge self-control, and to self-control perseverance, and to perseverance godliness, and to godliness brotherly kindness, and to brotherly kindness love. You see, he didn't want them to just be content with where they were, just be content with their salvation, like they had won some great get out of hell free card and that was it. They were done. No. That wasn't it. It wasn't just about telling a story about what God had done in their life 20 years ago. He was saying, okay, look, guys, I'm really happy that you've obtained a similar faith to mine. Keep moving forward. Keep growing. And not just in the head, but let that knowledge have an impact on your lives and how you live. And he says, these qualities keep you from being ineffective or unfruitful in the knowledge of our Lord Jesus Christ. These qualities help you from being ineffective. And I'll tell you, there have been plenty of times in my life when I've wondered that very same thing. Especially now, this time of the year. The year is winding down. And we all start to think back on our accomplishments and what have we done with the year. And I wonder sometimes, has my life had any real value? Have I done anything of real significance, eternal significance? Have I been fruitful? Or have I been wrapped up so much in my own problems and stuff that I missed it? That I wasted the year? And Peter says, make every effort to add to your faith. Make every effort. That means that it doesn't come automatically. Salvation, that's the free gift. But maturity, that takes effort. That takes work on our part. And he says, we need to add to our faith goodness. Goodness, that moral excellence, that virtue. So let our lives reflect the high moral standard that God would have us reflect. Live with integrity and honor. And don't just keep doing the same things that we used to do before we got saved. Let God continue to challenge us and move us along to look more and more like his Son. And to do this, he says we need to grow in knowledge. Grow in knowledge of the truth. We need to get to know Christ more, to get to know his heart and draw close to him. To learn how to spot the counterfeit from the original. And when we do that, we're going to start to realize that we'll have to surrender more and more and more of ourselves over to him. We'll realize that he doesn't just want a piece of our heart. He wants all of our heart. And we'll have to learn to ask ourselves each day, Lord, show me what part of my life I'm hiding from you, and help me submit it to you. And to that, he says, add self-control. You know, a lot of times Christians get a bad rap because we focus on others' control. We see people sinning and we want to stop, want them to stop. And, you know, that in and of itself isn't bad. It just means that we have a heart for them. But here he says, after you've put on knowledge, apply it to yourself. Apply it to yourself. Learn self-control. Learn how to control your own lusts, whatever form that takes. And add to that endurance. See, when we first become a Christian, we're kind of on this high. It's like when you first fall in love. God has done something wonderful for us, and we get excited. And it seems as though nothing bad is ever going to happen to us in our lives again because it's just awesome. And then eventually we realize that we're still living in a sinful world. We're not in heaven yet. Bad stuff still happens. And actually in Romans, it says that the suffering is actually going to help us learn perseverance. It's because we know that suffering produces perseverance, it says. So that we rejoice in our sufferings. So it's going to be hard. So we have to add endurance. And then to that, add godliness. Godliness. And the word that he uses here is can be translated like piety or reverence, that position of standing before God and being aware of his unlimited power and devoting every part of our lives to him. And then comes the brotherly love, the Philadelphia, that kind of love that you just have with your best friend. And then to that, the agape love. That kind of love that God has, that self-sacrificial, unconditional, eternal love. Now, obviously, even though this is listed that way, we don't have to wait until we get to the very end to start loving people. We can start loving people immediately. But it's interesting that when we do try to jump to the end and try to love with that agape love, without some of these other qualities, our love doesn't really measure up. I mean, imagine for a minute a marriage that's trying to exhibit self-sacrificial, unconditional love, but there's no self-control. We lose our tempers, or we let our eyes kind of wander, or we try to have an eternal love, that never-ending love, but we haven't yet learned endurance. Or I say, I love my wife, but I've never actually learned how to have a brotherly love, a friendship with her. So here we are, at the close of the year, close to the end of our readings, and it becomes very obvious that we're actually not at the end at all. This is really just the beginning. We need to make every effort to add to our faith the goodness, the knowledge, the self-control, the perseverance, the godliness, the brotherly kindness, and to the brotherly kindness, love. It's a long process. So, yeah, we're at the end, but we're really at the beginning. Until next time.